Gora was a young woman with dreams much bigger than the small town she lived in. She had always believed in love, commitment, and the sanctity of marriage. But fate had something else planned for her. She was married to a man named Faizan, who from the outside appeared simple and hardworking. However, behind closed doors, he was a manipulative and selfish man. What shocked Gora the most was discovering that she was not his only wife. Faizan had 10 wives. Yes, 10. He had built a system for himself, a sick routine where he spent one day with each wife and moved to the next, completing his cycle in 7 days. Gora saw him only once a week, and that too, without any love or emotional connection. The arrangement wasn't just bizarre, it was cruel. Each woman in Faizan's life lived in solitude, waiting for their day, like prisoners waiting for visiting hours. Faizan didn't provide emotional support, didn't take financial responsibility for his wives or their children, and showed no concern for their mental well-being. He lived like a dictator, ruling over hearts and homes without offering anything in return. Gora, in particular, hated this setup deeply. She felt used, ignored, and dehumanized. She had no say in how things worked and no support from her husband. She tried to talk to him several times, but he would brush her off or respond with arrogance and control. Her voice was unheard. Faizan worked as an office boy, a job that paid little and demanded hard work. Yet, he held himself as if he were a king. He had created an illusion of power, where each wife had to wait patiently for her turn. Gora found it humiliating. She was not a schedule. She was a person. She began questioning why she ever agreed to this marriage. Her dreams of a caring husband and a warm home had turned into cold waiting rooms and empty nights. There was no affection, no shared life, only routine and silence. Her self-worth began to erode, and so did her patience. It wasn't long before the emotional torture became unbearable. Gora tried to remain patient for months, even hoping that Faizan might change. She saw how the other wives lived, equally broken, equally disappointed, but no one had the courage to speak up. They were stuck in a system that punished questions and rewarded silence. But Gora was different. She couldn't accept injustice without resistance. Slowly, the seed of rebellion began to grow inside her. She began making a plan that could save her and maybe even the others. One day, after a particularly painful confrontation, Gora made up her mind. She would ask for a divorce. She deserved better than 1 day a week and a husband who treated her like a calendar entry. She deserved love, respect, and freedom. When she confronted Faizan with her decision, he exploded with rage. His ego couldn't handle rejection, especially from a woman he thought was just another pawn in his game. He screamed, threatened, and finally went space for healing, learning, and empowerment. What started as just 10 women soon turned into a growing community. They shared stories, offered legal advice, and helped each other find employment and independence. Gora had unknowingly become a leader, an accidental hero, but despite all the progress, Gora often sat in silence and reflected on her journey. She thought about the girl she once was, the one who believed marriage was the answer to happiness. She had trusted blindly, hoping love would follow, but all she found was pain. Still, she didn't regret speaking out. If anything, she wished she had done it sooner. She understood now that love without respect is just another form of control. One day, Gora was invited to share her story on a YouTube platform that focused on real-life experiences. She hesitated at first, but then realized this was her chance to reach thousands, maybe millions. She wrote down her story, every detail, every emotion, and every lesson. She wanted to make sure no one misunderstood her journey. She wasn't looking for sympathy, she was giving a warning and a message of hope. In the video, Gora sat in front of a camera with calm confidence. Her voice was steady, her eyes clear. She spoke of the pain, the betrayal, the near-death experience, and the legal battle. She didn't cry, she didn't need to. Her strength was in her words. She told viewers about Faizan, the other wives, and the courage it took to break free. It wasn't just a story, it was a revolution in 9 minutes. She ended the video with a message that would stay in the hearts of many. If you're in a toxic relationship, please understand it's not your destiny. You have a choice. You have a right to happiness. I made a mistake by staying silent for too long, but you don't have to. Speak up, walk away. You are more than someone's timetable. You are your own person. The video went viral. Thousands of comments poured in from around the world. Some shared their own stories, others thanked her for her courage, and many asked how they could help. Gora was overwhelmed, but she felt fulfilled. This was the impact she had dreamed of. She wasn't just Gora anymore. She was a movement, a force for change. She was invited to schools, women's shelters, and NGOs to speak. Her message reached far beyond her own community. Even government officials took notice. She was offered a role in a women's advisory board, helping shape future policies for domestic abuse survivors. Gora accepted not for fame, but for the chance to make real change. In her personal life, Gora stayed single. She focused on rebuilding herself, emotionally and spiritually. She read books, learned skills, and found joy in small things. She also adopted a young girl from a shelter, someone who reminded her of herself. She promised to give her a life full of love and dignity, the kind she never had. Together, they built a new home, a safe home. Gora's journey wasn't perfect. There were bad days, painful memories, and moments of doubt. But she never gave up. She learned that healing is not a straight line, it's a circle. Sometimes you go back to the pain, but you come out stronger every time. Her scars were still there, but now they told a story of victory. 3 years passed, and Faizan was released from jail. But the world had changed. He was no longer feared. No one respected him. His other wives had moved on, some remarried, some single, but all free. Faizan tried to contact Gora once, but she didn't respond. He was now irrelevant in the life of the woman he once tried to break. Faizan's fall from power was complete. The man who once juggled 10 wives like appointments now lived alone, disgraced and forgotten. The same community that once whispered about Gora now praised her. They had seen her rise from ashes, and in that rise, they found courage themselves. Faizan had lost not just his wives, but also the illusion of control he once enjoyed. He was no longer feared, only pitied. Meanwhile, Gora walked with her head high. 1 year after Faizan's release, Gora was invited to deliver a TED-style talk titled From Silence to Strength. Standing on the stage in front of hundreds, she looked out and saw reflections of her old self, in the faces of the audience, some hopeful, some scared, some already broken. She began her speech by saying, "I'm not here to talk about pain. I'm here to talk about power. The power you discover the moment you say no to being treated like nothing." Her words rang with truth, earned not from theory, but from survival. Every pause she took, every breath echoed with experience. She didn't just speak for herself anymore. She spoke for everyone who hadn't yet found the courage. Her message resonated across borders. She received invitations from international organizations, podcasts, and women's forums. She was no longer just the girl whose husband had 10 wives. She was now a symbol of resistance. But she never let the fame change her purpose. Gora continued working at the grassroots, visiting shelters, mentoring girls, and ensuring that legal help reached victims faster. She turned her pain into a lifelong mission. What Faizan tried to destroy, Gora used as fuel to create. Where he ended, she began. Her past no longer defined her, it empowered her. Gora had rewritten her story, and in doing so, she had rewritten the stories of many others. Years later, Gora decided to write a memoir. She called it 7 Days of Silence, a tribute to the week-long cycle she had once been trapped in. The book became a bestseller. People cried reading it. Some smiled at her strength, and others wrote letters saying it saved their lives. In interviews, Gora always said the same thing. It's not about being perfect. It's about not giving up. The story that began with silence ended with millions of voices rising in unity. Gora never forgot the night she nearly died, but she also never forgot the day she truly started living. Her book was not a conclusion, but an invitation for every woman to pick up the pen and write her own ending. In the final chapter of her book, Gora left a note that echoed through hearts everywhere. Dear sister, if you are reading this, know that I once sat in your place, afraid, unsure, voiceless. But one decision changed everything. I chose myself. You can too. Don't wait for a hero. Be one. Don't wait for rescue. Walk out. Don't live 7 days in someone else's control. Live every day in your own power. You are not alone. I am with you. That was the true ending of Gora's story, not with her husband's punishment, but with her own rebirth. A woman broken by a system, rebuilt by her own courage. Gora had become the future she once prayed for.